Hello and welcome to Back to Basics with Sandra and Lyndall. Today we are going to be discussing our journey, our introduction to the fitness industry and why we decided to start a podcast.
So we're here, finally.
We are finally here.
After much anticipation, it is the day. So exciting.
Super exciting. So what we're going to do first is we're going to dive into our journey. So I think we can both agree that we had somewhat of a traumatic introduction to the health and fitness world. And I think that has largely shaped, the type of coaches that we are now, the type of women we are, and the philosophy that we have when we train our girls. So I want to dive into your journey first because I think for you, it was a little bit traumatic. Mm-hmm. So how did it all start for you? What was your introduction? What was your journey like?
Honestly, the most vivid memory I have growing up is my uncle putting me on a scale in front of my entire family at such a young age. I think I was probably 9 or 10. And I never ever thought that I was a large kid. If you see photos, you would see it. But I never saw it. My mum never ever told me that I was a big girl or that I was, that I was fat or I needed to lose weight. But my uncle felt that it was his position in front of the family to get the scale out and say, let's just see how big you really are.
That's wild.
And put me on there. And, no one stopped him, which again is quite traumatic. But that was it. That shaped a lot of what I went through for the next 20 or so years. The scale completely defined me. And it was that defining moment that set it off for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think for me, my earliest memory was when I was in school. I was probably like year 4 or year 5. Mm-hmm. And I was bigger in the sense that I was taller than the other girls, but I also played a lot of sports. So I had muscly legs and muscly arms and, that was a little bit different for being in primary school especially. And I remember we were at a swimming carnival one day and my best friend at the time, I can't even remember what her name was, but she was super slender. She actually came up to me and grabbed my stomach, like literally grabbed a stomach roll and was like, that's gross. Like, what is that? And at that point, I'd never, ever had any type of bullying or had any kind of experience like that. And I just remember feeling extremely deflated. And I guess that was my first experience of body shaming.
Yeah.
And I kind of, it made me feel a little bit unworthy. Mm-hmm. It made me compare myself to the other girls that didn't look like me. And it was just an eye-opening experience. But I really don't remember, I guess, another occasion like that until my teenage years. Yeah. I was, I guess, lucky in a sense that my family was very supportive of my sporting ventures and things like that. So I guess I didn't have an experience like yourself, but it was more so in my later teenage years where I guess I experienced a little bit of disordered exercise and disordered eating because it came down to not having the education or the experience or the understanding of how to do things sensibly and how to do things safely, I guess. And I think I was in that mindset of, well, if I want to achieve something, the more I do, the faster the results
it will come. Yeah,
I would achieve. So, I mean, for you growing up, I think that it sounds like that experience really shaped, the way that you grew up and the way that you approach fitness and nutrition. Like, how would you say that shaped you?
I think, even though I was excelling in other areas of my life, it always came back to, because he was quite a prominent figure in the family. And it came from a place of control for him. He wanted to control everything. So that was his way of controlling me. And to be honest, we don't actually speak to him anymore because of that.
Wow.
His personality, we've cut him out of our life. But it shaped how I trained, how I related to myself, how I thought other people related to me. So, the popular girl at school wouldn't be my friend if I was, within this certain weight range because they were quite skinny. There was that whole phase at school as well.
Yeah.
Or a particular guy wouldn't like me if I looked a particular way or I weighed a particular, that number was so definitive for me. And it wasn't until I had babies and I met my husband that, I completely flipped the script on that and I moved away from that and everything became about how much weight on the bar. And I guess as well, that's a testament to our relationship and how we met is as soon as I walked into Squad Gym, I met you, I saw you, I was following you as a fangirl on Instagram. But you were everything that the scale was not. You were larger, you were curvy, you were strong, you had muscles, you were in the gym just with the other blokes as well. And you were doing what they were doing and better. And that was, so inspiring for me. And I guess, 7 years later, here we are. And it's incredible. It's such I get goosebumps. Yeah, goosebumps thinking about it.
It's pretty wild. And I think, going back to those experiences that we had growing up, it's crazy how much we took that on board. And we really cared about what other people thought of us and how people judged us and how people perceived us as well. Like I remember feeling exactly the same way. And I think that's kind of shaped a lot of the decisions that I've made when I moved into the fitness industry and I started my fitness journey, because I was so caught up on how other people perceived me and what I looked like. And, did I kind of look like those girls that were on social media? And I think for me, that was how I guess started in the fitness industry was via disordered exercising and disordered eating. I was, controlling my calories down to the very macro, and it was 800 calories.
So how did you move away from that? So you were in school and you were the athletic girl, you were quite bigger, and then you went into the disordered eating journey and you became quite thin. How did you break that out of that mindset again and then go back to, I guess, your roots and become that athletic person again? How do you move away from that skinny mentality?
I don't really remember like a specific point where I was like this, the switch has flicked and I'm going to change. I think it just came from educating myself. I enrolled to do my certificate 3 and 4 in fitness. I had a coach at the time and I was constantly learning about how to eat and how to train to be the best that I could be. And it really came down to my environment as well. When I started, I was at school. I was at an all-girls school as well. And, girls can be pretty savage, when it comes to bullying and that sort of thing. Then I moved into working full-time and, I moved into also managing a gym, and it was more of like a bodybuilding kind of gym. So then I was surrounded by that where everyone was just trying to get as big as possible, get as lean as possible. Everyone was always on a diet. And that was kind of like a completely different mentality, right? So then I shifted from being as skinny as possible to, okay, well, I want to do a bodybuilding show. I want to get as I guess as big as possible and get as lean as possible. So then it was like, that was my goal. That was my next goal. And I kind of did that for a little bit. I never competed. Thank God. I really love food. Then I moved gyms and I was PTing at another gym, and one of the boys said, you're pretty strong. Why don't you do a powerlifting? We're doing a powerlifting competition in like 10 weeks. Why don't you come and do it with us? And I never even heard of the sport. I was like, what is this thing? And at that time, it wasn't really something that women were doing. It was like 8 or 9 years ago, maybe now. And I kind of just thought, why not? You know, it's a goal on the way to my goal of being on stage doing a bodybuilding show, which was my goal at the time. So I ended up prepping for that 10 weeks. It was a deadlift only comp, and I prepped for 10 weeks, really pushed my deadlift, went to the comp. It was literally me and 2 other girls. Wow. That was it. Whereas now
you can't get in. You can't get in.
Comps sell out in minutes, and it's not uncommon to go to a comp and it's like a full day of girls, right? Whereas back then it was me and 2 other girls, and I ended up winning. I ended up getting the national record.
Of course you did.
And I was kind of just hooked because I'd been to bodybuilding shows before, and it was definitely very much about yourself, right? It was how I looked and how I presented myself on stage and the bikini I wore, and it was kind of a little bit self-absorbed in that way. Whereas at this powerlifting show, I had people that I didn't even know coming up, patting me on the back, like, great lift, you're looking really strong, and it was just this kind of
different.
And, I created friendships that I'd never had before through a sport that I'd never even considered being a part of. And I was kind of hooked, right? And I ended up finding a powerlifting coach. I was like, see you later, bodybuilding. Not for me. Thank God, because now I can eat all the things. And I ended up finding a powerlifting coach and subsequently, continuing to compete in powerlifting. And I would say being pretty successful at it for quite a period of time. I held multiple national world records. I won gold multiple times, and it was a great experience. So I think a change in my circumstances and my environment, but also having different people around me as well. Like my friendship circles changed, and I ended up having people around me that were really focused on being strong, or were really focused on being the fittest version of yourself. And I think that has continued. And even though now I don't necessarily compete in powerlifting, that mentality and that philosophy around training still remains, and I still really love lifting those heavy weights and all of that, just not at that competitive level. But I think it's taught me a lot about myself, and it's taught me a lot about my body and how it can change for the different goals that we have, which I think is pretty amazing. So I guess for you, like, how did you move from really focusing on the number on the scale to yourself being strong and fit and healthy?
I think after having kids, we all talk about the bounce back. It's always like it's almost like women, and we do it to ourselves. We don't care. It's so bad that we don't care about like how you are as a mother. We all sit there and watch the bounce back, and we all looking like, is she doing well? And the way that you measure a mother's success is by what she looks like. Has she gone back to her pre-baby body? What's she doing? Like, what is she wearing? Is she got rolls? Like, how does she look? All that. And, once I started, like, after I had my first child, I went back to running. I went back to eating minimal calories because, being a personal trainer as well, you're thinking I'm under this pressure that people are looking to me.
Your body is your brand.
Yeah, right? So people are looking to me for reference. And then I thought, nah, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm better than this. There's more to life than doing this. And then I, came to Squad Gym, met you, and then it was just, as you said, you changed your environment, and I completely changed my environment. We started lifting weights, and I actually got quite big. I think I put on 10 kilos, honestly, and that was also
have that effect on people.
Also because, I was going through a very tough time as well, with my friend also suffering from, cancer and given 12 months to live. And I was like, watching my friend be bedridden and not being able to eat and not being able to live, I thought, how am I going to live for her? And so, you said to me, look, there's a novice camp coming up. What do you want to do? You want to join in? Do you want to not? And I was like, you know what? Yes, let's do this. And then we started like training from my first novice comp, which was amazing. And everything was about, okay, how much can I put on that bar every week? How can I increase that weight on that bar?
But did you feel like that was a more fulfilling goal?
100%.
Just jumping on the scale every week and 100%, that we 100%. Had lost weight.
Yeah. Even when I was jumping on the scale and it was going up, I was like, mate, that can go up. My barbell weight can go up. I was like, everything's just going up. Are we
having pasta for dinner tonight?
Everything was just elevating. I was eating. I was fueling myself to perform rather than like fueling myself to be less on a device.
But something that I also used to do as well is I had this crazy, I don't know if you can relate, but I had this crazy mentality where I felt like I had to earn my food.
You did.
I had to do a certain amount of exercise, and for me it was like a real big numbers game as well. Like I had this goal of getting to 60 kilos, like just for reference, I'm like 82 kilos at the moment, right? So you could imagine how teeny tiny I was at 60 kilos. I had this goal of getting to 60 kilos. I was eating 800 calories, but also when I trained, it was like I had to do a weight training session for like 75 minutes or it didn't count.
To earn your food.
I had to do cardio for 30 minutes or it didn't count. Or I had to burn 250 calories or it didn't count. I had this like weird kind of strict rules on how I trained and how I ate. And if I did those things, then I could and if I didn't do those things or if I went over my calories, well, then I'd have to train at the end of the day or I'd have to do a double session tomorrow to make up for that. Did you do anything like that?
Of course I did. Yeah. One of the gyms I signed up to before like going on this journey, they actually counted you had to track how many hours of cardio you did and put it into the app. So not only were you tracking your food, you had to attend a certain number of sessions and then put in the amount of cardio you were doing. So I would go to the gym in the morning and then I'd work all day and then I'd run a session for my girls in the afternoon. And then in between that half an hour, I'd just be doing laps.
Yeah.
And I'd monitor everything on our watches, on our
I used
Fitbit.
to jump rope.
Yeah, and it was measured. But you think like a successful brand, I'm not going to say who it was, but they have multiple gyms across. Yeah, they have multiple gyms across the country and international, and that's what they're making people do. And they have so many success stories because it's such an extreme thing. But you wouldn't know it if you were a client there, because you're like, I'm getting the results. This is great, but it's actually really bad. Because
I actually had a client that came to me from, I think I know who you're talking about, and she actually won one of their challenges. And the way that she won it was she was on this incredibly strict fitness and nutrition routine, extremely low calories.
Almost like The Biggest Loser.
Yes. But to actually get to the goal weight that she had to get to win, she saunaed. Yeah. She dehydrated herself. She didn't drink water for like 2 or 3 days. Yeah, like she was taking diuretics, like all of this crazy shit. And she won. Yeah. Like she did win. But it's so interesting because she sent me her photos of, you know, what she looked like when she finished her challenge. And then we put them side by side with the photos of 3 months of her training with me doing weight training. And she had significantly less cellulite. She was significantly smaller because she had more muscle mass on her. And her shape completely changed. Yeah. And it was just so interesting that despite being heavier training with me, she actually looked
way better,
and leaner and fitter, and her skin looked so much better from weight training and just having that healthy outlook. And she was actually able to then, you know, enjoy her life and go out with her friends and not feel like she was missing out on occasions. Because I think that's the biggest thing when you've got that really strict mentality and that strict mindset. I remember missing out on so many occasions. Like I would literally turn down invitations to events or lunches or whatever because I was afraid that I might go over my calories or I would miss a gym session and that could never happen because that would undo all of my damage. You know, that would undo all of my hard work, and now, like, the gym comes second to all of that. You know, family first, friends first, making memories first. And I think that has probably been the biggest shift for me. How do you see that?
Again, it was like seeing my girlfriend go through what she went through. I will never forget her saying to me, you know, we've spent so long of our friendship asking for cream on the side or, you know, can it not be fried in so much oil? Can it, you know, asking for less? And she said, all I want to do is eat a burger, because she was being fed through a tube. And I thought, my God, we take so much for granted that I'm never, ever going to ask for less. I'm going to fuel my body, eat properly. Obviously, you know, you still need to eat well, but never take advantage of those moments of going out for drinks, of going out for dinner with your friends, of going out for breakfast with my kids, and, you know, mummy asking for, eggs on toast instead of pancakes with cream and ice cream and stuff. So that was a massive thing for me, and it was the worst thing to watch her go through. But I'm thankful that I got to learn something from that. And I think if I didn't learn from that, it would have been a worse experience for me. But because she taught me so much through her struggle, that I'm forever grateful that I got to experience that with her, you know, till the very end. So, you know, that for me, you can't replace that. You can't teach that.
No.
So when I coach now, I coach from experience. And that's what I try and tell people is I'm not here to cookie cut or textbook teach you stuff. I'm here to teach you things from lived experience, which is huge. And it's the same for you. You're not speaking like any other trainer out there. You're speaking from experience.
Well, I think it's because, you know, I never want someone to go through what I went through and to feel the things that I felt and to have that trauma. Like, I want people's introduction into this lifestyle to be one that's positive and one that is lifelong as well, because that's what it's all about. It's a lifestyle, right? And I love what you just said about, you know, how, you know, it's about being more, not less. And I think that's such an important thing to teach, because I think so many women lack confidence within themselves, and that's one of the reasons why they start this journey. Is that whole belief about, well, if I change my image, I'll be happier, or I'll be more confident, or, you know, I'll tick all these boxes and things will be better for me. But what we don't think about, and what I experienced myself, is that if we don't do the work on the inside, if we don't do the inside work, then it doesn't matter how we look on the outside. It doesn't matter what the scale says or how skinny we are or anything like that. if we don't do the work on the inside, you're still going to feel shit when you get to your goal.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So I guess, you know, how do you approach nutrition and health these days with your girls, with your clients?
I just tell them, like, eat as you wish, right? Life's too short to cut out anything that makes you happy or that.
So order the fries.
Order the fries with the extra mayo.
Aioli.
Yeah, aioli, that's right. But yeah, eat what you wish, but just in balance. Like just eat well. Like for women, I think the biggest game changer for me is my skin and just my energy levels and everything changed when I drank more water.
Yeah.
You know, we sip so much coffee throughout the day. We don't drink enough water to balance it out. So it's all about balance. You can have this and you can have that and you can have it all, but just like be conscious of what you're doing and how you're doing it, and not only what you're eating and what you're consuming, but also who you're hanging out with.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't have the same circles that I had 5 years ago, 3 years ago. You know, I have these pockets of friends, which we're going to talk about, you know, in another episode, but it's so important to choose what you eat, what you see, who you see, what you consume through social media, what you consume on television. Filter your life. Filter it in whatever way you want, because you are in complete control. And the people and the girls that get the results that when I work with them are the ones that take that on board. Yeah. And you see their confidence just come through, and they just become this whole new person with this confidence and this okayness to say no.
Yeah.
That's
okay to say no.
It's okay to say no.
Yeah. You know, it's so funny, when I was growing up, my mum would always teach me to drink water, or you know, I couldn't play outside until I had a piece of fruit, or I had to go to bed at 7:30 and all of those things. And I was like, no, you know, I'm not doing that. Whereas now I'm like, what do you mean I've got to go out past 8 p.m.? You know, I'm definitely
100%.
drinking water and eating fruit and all of those things.
Yeah.
And it's so funny how I just do that naturally now, but I think it's such a great way to look at, you know, nutrition and all of that sort of stuff, and just not being restrictive. You know, it's about being aware of what's in food, you know, and it's about being aware of your body and when you might need to rein it in if you need to. Like I know for a majority of the time myself, I'm just intuitively eating. You know, I'm not hardcore tracking. But at the same time, if I have a photo shoot or an event coming up where maybe I need to lose a kilo or whatever, I know what I need to do to rein it in to achieve those results. You know, so I think it's also about teaching that as well. Sometimes people might need to track for a period of time, and that's from an educational standpoint. It's not so that we can be strict and have like a regimented approach to what we eat or anything like that. It's more about education, because a lot of people don't understand how many calories or whatever is in what they consume. Right? They don't understand the amount of exercise they do and how many calories they're actually burning. And all of the other things that go with it. You know, they don't understand the
vitamins.
The detriment of things like stress management or lack of sleep, or, you know, not drinking enough water. All of those things actually contribute to the results that you may or may not receive as well. So I think it comes down to education. And once you have that understanding and you have that baseline of knowledge, then you can move into intuitively eating or intuitively training. Like I used to train 7 days a week, you know, sometimes twice a day. Whereas now, if I can get in 4
that's
really
my minimum
good sessions.
I mean, that's my maximum, 4 sessions a week. If
I can get in 4 really good sessions, I am stoked. And, you know, I used to train for 75 minutes. Now I average about 40 to 45.
Same.
But I go hard. The intensity's high, you know, when I get it done. But also my goals are different as well. You know, when I was powerlifting, it was quite common for my training sessions to be upwards of 2 hours.
90 minutes,
because I needed that time to warm up and, you know, all of that sort of stuff. So it is dependent on your goals, I understand. But, you know, just having flexibility as well. And being okay with that. I think that is the biggest thing that I have learned is, you know, having that internal conversation with myself that, you know, it's okay, you know, if you miss out on a gym session. It's okay if you put an occasion before, you know, something else, you know, and just be okay with it, because I used to beat myself up about it all the time. So I guess moving on to the podcast and why we're here. Why was it important for you to start a podcast?
Look, it's funny because today I launched round 4 of my Flourish program, right? So today it's starting and today we're doing the podcast. So it's very like aligned.
So just for everyone listening, explain to us what Flourish is.
So Flourish is part of my my business, which is Formation Fitness, and that is an all-women's boxing and strength training class in the heart of Belmore at the PCYC. So it's been running for about a year now. Just a little plug there. Just a little plug. And, it's all women and we're all supporting each other, and it's the most amazing thing that's ever been, like, that I've ever created, apart from my children.
I've met these girls as well, and they're just
different. Yeah, they're all so lovely.
But they're like you as well. Like, you really attract your tribe, hey.
It's important. That's why it's successful, because the people that get it and the people that that I mesh with well, and that they mesh with the others, and then we just become this little family, which is beautiful. But round 4, so we've it's a program that I run every, I guess, quarter. So this is the final one for the year, and that's all about the education piece. And it's funny because some of the newbies, I'll say newbies that have joined coming to training, I've signed up and they're like so excited. They're going to get all these results in 6 weeks. And I'm like, you do know that it's 6 weeks, and it probably will take you 6 weeks to even see any sort of change happen for you, So it's massively about that education.
Fall off the wagon halfway
through.
Right.
As
well. They don't even make it to the 6 weeks.
They don't make it. So whole education piece. Very exciting that's our last one for the year starting today, and they're all very excited for the photo shoot. But because they see other women with that confidence that they would never, like, they're everyday women. And it's funny because some of the ones that did the photo shoot last time aren't in this program now due to going overseas or whatever. And I said to them, you can still come to the photo shoot. And they're like, oh, thanks. But they would never.
Here for the cheese plate. We're just here for the cheese plate. That's all I'm going for.
But, 6 months ago when I said to them, at the end of your program, you're going to do a photo shoot, they were freaking out. And now they're like, when can I jump in front of the camera again? Which is so, like, that to me is priceless.
That's why we do it, right?
That's why we do it. Like, you can't, And so starting the podcast as well is just to show them that we've been there and we, like, I know we've had this discussion, but we want to be the voice that we needed when we were growing up.
And an unfiltered voice.
And an unfiltered voice, because a lot of the stuff you hear these days, as much as they try not to be, they are very filtered and they are conscious of who's listening, right? Yeah. I want to remove all that.
Not us. Not us at all.
It's coming. But want to remove all that and just be, all this filtered stuff on social media and everything that you listen to. We just want to be something different, and we want to bring it out and show you that we are you and we know what you've been through and what you're going through, right?
Yeah. And look, I work in social media, so I, from a marketing standpoint, completely understand how people approach different sorts of marketing online. But at the end of the day, it's to sell a product or a program. Right. And that's why, to some degree, it has to be filtered. And what I don't appreciate is that because there is so much information online, my clients come to me, or, women come to me and they don't know what's true.
They're so confused.
And they have every right to be, because the information online is so confusing. And there's so much information online that you could probably even find some blog or something to back up whatever you want to believe, even if it's not true.
That's right.
Right? So I think creating a podcast for me, like you said, is about, having a voice of truth. About all things, not just health and fitness related, but everything. I know we've got a lot of experiences that are very similar in some regard, but a lot of experiences that are very different as well. So I think that's important. So I guess to wrap it up today, what would you say to anyone that is wanting to begin their fitness journey?
Just start. Just start, and don't just focus on one thing. Once, like, the weight loss and your aesthetic goals and all of that will come once you get the other stuff in line, once you filter out the toxic friendships and relationships, once you you filter out what you're consuming through TV or social media, the gym you go to, how you get those those daily walks in, what food you eat. Once you get all that in line, the aesthetic goals will come, and it'll just, like all that other hard work will pay off.
Yeah,
In
definitely.
yourself.
I think for me, it's about putting yourself first. I think especially as women, we're so accustomed to putting everyone and everything else before ourselves, right? And I always say to my girls, like, just put aside that 1 hour a day.
Yeah.
You know, just that 1 hour a day where you go for a walk or you go to the gym or you cook some food for yourself that's nutritious. Like, just do that one thing for yourself because that will give back to you in so many ways. That will make you a better wife. It'll make you a better mom. It'll make you a better work colleague, you know, whatever it is. Like, it will make you a better person because we've spent the rest of our day, the other 23 hours, doing things for other people. Right? So I think it's, you know, take your time, put yourself first, be confident in your journey and trust the process.
Yes.
I think as well, trusting the process is sometimes the hardest thing to do. And just enjoy it, you know, enjoy the journey, enjoy where you're at, even if you're not at, you know, your goal, your finish line just yet. And if you're not sure, hire a professional, right? Like, just get educated and, you know, learn the knowledge that you need to do it safely and do it accurately and enjoy it. 100%. So I guess, guys, if you have enjoyed today's episode, we'd love to hear about it on social media. So take a screenshot. We'll pop our handles in the little box below. So please jump online. Please tag us. We want to know if you are enjoying our podcast and we'd love to hear your feedback as well.